when we were doing field day and we were at Okoboji Lake and everybody wanted to go camping, I knew that it wasn't going to be a field day thing for me. It was just not going to happen. So I made use of the remote control for the FlaxRadio. Now all I had done was, for that, I kind of got lazy. I will admit, I did FT8, and that would not have been my main goal, but I didn't want to get too distracted with field day, but at the same time do field day. I hope that makes sense. So normally I would have done PSK, RIDI, maybe some phone, but not really. Best points and why. Actually, communications that would require a little more than just clicking a button. Don't get me wrong, FT8 is cool, and because of things like FT8, we now have JS8 call, which is actually has complete two-way communication based on the FT8 protocol. So I mean, it's because of FT8 that we have cool things like JS8 call. And had I had more time, I might have played with trying to make other digital contacts that way, actual where you have to do some work. But I went ahead and did FT8. I only got 130 contacts, and the reason why is because about 5 a.m. Sunday morning, the power went out here at the house. And of course, we are 4 hours away, so it's not like I can just turn it back on. So there was no way to talk to my radio. We're going to Colorado because of my dad passing away last weekend. So I picked myself up a APC backup UPS. And hopefully it's not going to add any noise to my QTH here, but it should provide me power to keep my radio going while I'm away if the power goes off for a short period of time. And then as long as it's just a minor blip, then I will be able to use my radio, because I won't be back for 3 weeks, so I won't be able to turn it back on. All right, let's get it unboxed. So this guy is 450 watts. So it should do pretty good. It does come with the USB cable to connect to your computer. So I'm not even planning on powering the computer with this, because the wireless that it's connected to is not on battery backup. It's way down here at the bottom of the house. And if the power goes out, I won't be able to remote into it anyway. And you don't need a computer for this radio, because the radio, it's a 6600M, so it's got its own front end. The goal of this is to keep the radio on if the power goes out, so that it doesn't shut off. Because once it shuts off, you can't remotely turn it back on. We're going to be gone for 3 weeks in Colorado. So that's my goal, is just to prevent the radio from turning off. Even if all the stuff plugged into my power supply that's powering the radio, the tuner, the noise canceller, and all those things, even if it was using 50 watts, which it doesn't take 50 watts to power all those things just in receive mode, it's probably more like 25, but even if it took 50 watts just to sit there and receive, 450 watts should last me about 9 hours. If I'm using only 25 watts, then we got no power for several hours. That radio is not just going to shut off because the power went out. I guess that's my point, and that's what I've got this for. So the radio does not turn off, and I will still be able to remote in. So let's go get it all set up. Slowly getting my shack in order. Not sure I'm going to continue to use that monitor. I am getting a little bit of RF on 20 meters that does tend to make that screen go off when I'm transmitting at close to 100 watts. So I have to figure out what to do with that. But let's see what we got. So for example, right now this is using 5 amps, 12 volts, and 13 volts. 50-60 watts. That's running this, and that. I'm just curious, I'm going to turn this off. Let's see how much it goes down. Let's see if this meter's even accurate. It's still shutting down. Okay, it's off. Yeah, so that radio uses the radio is what's using all that amperage. As soon as I turn the radio off, pretty much down to nothing. So, like I say, it should get about 8 hours. It's a 450 watt battery backup, but in any case, for any kind of power failure, if I'm just running this to make sure that stays on, that should get me through any power outages. Let's get it hooked up. All right, so before I hook up the APC, I'm going to do some noise checks. We are at around S7 for 160 meters. 3819. We are at around a almost S8 plus for 60 meters. We're at an S5. At 40 meters, we are at a almost S5. We are just over an S3. Actually, almost a 5. Okay, so at 20 meters, S5. So basically you're all around an S5 for 40, 30, and 20, 60, and we're at 8. All right, so let's go to 17, S5, S5, actually almost S8. All right. So that gives us a baseline. Now I'm going to go ahead and plug all this in through here. Okay. So now we are plugged into the APC battery backup. And we will turn it back on. All right, so let's start where we're at 6 meters. About the same. Let's go down to 10 meters. And we had an S5, we still have an S5. We go down to 12 meters. We had an S3 before. This looks like it's a little between S3 and S4. It could have just changed. Well, there's signal coming in now. It wasn't there before. So it could very well be about the same. Let's go to 15. We had an S5, we still have an S5. 17. It's clearly signal, let me move off of it. We had an S5 before, we still have an S5. So that's the same. 20. We had an S5, we still have pretty much an S5. 30. Well, that's not where we were on 30, obviously, so it didn't save it because that's a little glitch this radio has. It doesn't do well with persistent data. And this appears to be a little more, but again, I had to tune to a different channel. I don't know where I was exactly because it didn't save it. So, but we were a little under 5 the last time. Now we're on 5, maybe a little over. So I don't think that's noise though. I think it's because I'm not exactly at the same frequency. Let's do 40 meters. I've got to love that persistent data. That's the one bug this radio has that they just can't seem to fix. But that's fine. Let's go. I don't remember exactly where I was, but so we had a little below 5. We're still a little below 5. So 40 is roughly the same. Let's go to 60. Off the noise. 60 was 5. We're still at a 5. 80. That's where I was on 80, and we had around an 8, 9. That's the same. So same on 80, 160. We had a 7 on 160. We still have pretty much a 7. 630. I wrote I had a 4. But see, there's noise there now, so it's not exactly the same spot. I don't think that noise is from this. I'll go back to this and see, but there might be noise here, but it's hard to tell on this one. It could be just new things. Well, this definitely has. Yeah, look at that. That is definitely something new. So, if anything, let's take the APC out of the system and let's see what happens when we come back here. This is new. This is newly introduced. So, oh, wait a minute. That's what's wrong. let me put the right antenna on. I don't have an antenna that gets this. So from this initial test, I do not perceive any additional noise created by using the APC inline. So with that being said, this is the 450 watt APC. They call it the back UPS 850. That's probably the voltage, but the actual wattage is 450. So basically 850 volt amps, 450 watts. I think that's what that means. So that is what I got. It was $100, and on this initial test, from what I've seen, I think it's safe to say you could use this with your ham radio gear and it shouldn't introduce any additional noise. Again, I purchased it because the FlaxRadio, if the power's cut off, you can't set it to automatically power back up, and if you're trying to remote to it and the power goes off, you can't get in. So this backup is used just to make sure that radio does not go off. It should give me at least 8 hours based on the amp draw that I'm seeing. Probably 8 hours before it's depleted if the power is out. I don't see the power being out ever that long. So if the power does go out, it'll keep the radio on so that once the power's back up, I can remote in. So that's why I purchased it. Also, it would be handy that if the power goes out, I don't have to crank up a generator and I could go play with my radio for not 8 hours. If you're transmitting, you burn through that battery much, much faster. And it being a 450 watt, it should work fine for transmit. Let me go ahead and see. All right, let's turn all this on. Got both my slices present. Audio ready. I'm transmitting 114 watts. And there's no beepity 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 saying the thing is overloaded or anything. I'm running through the APC. It seems to be just fine. So let's go ahead and kill that. This is the RFI I was talking about. When I go to transmit, it kills that TV. Just got to figure out why. All right. Okay. So, other than I have to figure out why that TV keeps turning off, well, I know why. I gotta figure out how to make it not turn off. It may just not work in here. I may just not be able to use it for this. We'll see. But yeah, I'm able to transmit 100 watts, no issue, keep the radio running. I think it's gonna do the job.